Today, we're talking about what is the law of attraction, how does it work, and yes, I've heard about it, it didn't work for me, but how can it work now? So if you back, welcome. Remember to click subscribe, press that bell notification. We'd love to hear from you, and this is where we keep in touch. So I wanted to talk to you about the law of attraction. I was having a discussion with one of my friends and realized I'm always talking about it, yet I haven't really explained it. So I thought, well, in today's video, let's really dig a little. Let's get dirty in the mud and let's go and play with this idea. What is it? Where does it come from? Like, and is this thing actually true that everybody's talking about? So I got introduced to the law of attraction in 2006. It was shortly after my husband died of cancer. So it was not the right time for me to receive it, but yet it was. So although at the time I was like, are you kidding me? You want to tell me I brought this into my life? That moment, there was that something in me that wanted to know more. What is this? Where does this come from? How does this work? And since then, I have been digging deep into this, doing courses, finding out stuff and how it works. And the more I listen, the more I evolve, the more I grow, the more I understand it. And sometimes I put my hands in the air and said, oh, this stuff doesn't work. And you know what? It still worked. And I can prove it if I look back at my life and go, I can tell you what I was thinking at that time and why it didn't work. I can tell you exactly what I was thinking, and I can see why I got the results I did. And the times that I were thinking in a specific way, I can then look back at those times and go, that worked. I see it now. So it's taken some experience and deep digging and trial and error for me to figure this out. So what is it? The law of attraction in its simplest form basically says like attracts unto itself like or like. Okay, so what you think about this feeling is what you are getting or what is showing up in your life. And if you haven't seen The Secret, a lot of people got introduced to this idea with the movie of The Secret. If you haven't seen it, it is a fantastic introduction. It tells you so much, but there are so many more points that I've learned over the years because I thought you just sit in a chair and you think of the big red car Ferrari and you drive it around in your mind a few times and it shows up at your doorstep. Well, I got news for you, and it doesn't quite work like that. So it took a lot of deep diving and figuring stuff out and courses for me to actually now have it working for me rather than me working against it. And let me give you a little secret. Now I'm using it as a guide to see when I'm falling off the tracks. And it helps me in knowing exactly what I want, where I'm going, what I'm doing. And it kind of, I see it as a big mirror. It mirrors to me everything that's going on in my mind. So let me give you an example. This morning, I was on the beach and there was this little fish that washed out. And I kept throwing him back in the water and I kept, like putting him back and back in the water and putting him back. And eventually was strong enough to start swimming and then he'd come out again. And I'll take him, I'll put him back in. Initially, he was hardly breathing, just a little gill now and again that would move. And eventually he was strong enough and he left. And when I was walking back, I thought, that's interesting. Let me just take a moment, think about this. What is that reflecting to me? What is that reflecting in my life? What is it trying to show me? Because every experience you can start seeing as a lesson. We'll get back to the answer just now on that one. So stay and listen if you want to hear. So the law of attraction basically says this. If I think of something with feeling, pretty much it's going to show up. Now that is in the very basic form of it. Think of something when you were very angry or when you were very fearful or when you were extremely happy, how your life was in that time. Think of the happiest time in your life, right? Maybe it was holding your baby the first time. Maybe it was your first kiss. Maybe it was the day you said I do's. Maybe it was the day you got that job promotion you've been wanting for. What were your thoughts prior to that? And let's say it was the start of a new relationship. What were your thoughts? Where did you think? How did you go? Like, what, were you expecting it to get better and better and couldn't wait for the moment, or you just started a relationship and expecting the worst and it fell flat, because that is what would happen. Now think of the worst time in your life, the absolute worst time that you can think of. What were your thoughts in that time? Were your thoughts happy? Were they sad? Were they angry? Were they fearful? And what was the end result that you got from that? And that is an easy way to kind of see what's going on. Now, I'm not saying if you think of an ice cream, you're going to get an ice cream. I am just saying the feelings that you are feeling is going to give you more of the feeling things that show up in your life. So that is something to think about, because we sometimes think of physical things, but what I've learned in this journey is it's not so much physical as the stuff that makes you feel what you've been feeling. So that is where I want to bring this little bit in today. Now, I had a client recently who said to me, do you know what? The law of attraction is unfair. I'm a really good person. You know what? I'm a really good person. I have good thoughts. I've got good intentions. I'm always helping somebody. And then all these things show up. And I say to her, you know what? I want to tell you something. You know the law of gravity, right? The law of gravity says if I go and stand on a 12-story building and I step off, what's going to happen? I'm going to fall, right? Does the law of gravity care that I'm a good person or a bad person? No, it's the law of gravity. You're going to fall. Gravity is what keeps everything moving and going. And this is the same with the law of attraction. It doesn't care if you're a good person or a bad person. It cares what you're feeling, and it will give you more of what you are feeling into your life, more of that experience into your life. So if you've been depressed, if you have been angry at the world, if you have been guilt-ridden, you are surely going to bring more of those circumstances, those feeling things back into your life. It doesn't care if you're good or bad. It doesn't care if you're rich or if you're poor. It doesn't care if you live in this country or that. It works the same like gravity. You're going to fall because that's what gravity does. So now that we have that, I want you to think of something. We have two parts of us in our mind. The first part is your conscious thoughts. So things that we control, that we think about. These thoughts pop into your head. About 60 or 70,000 thoughts pop into your head every day. Now, there we got the subconscious mind. And this is where the stuff happens. Not the conscious mind so much. The subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is like a big, let me think, like at work, a big filing cabinet. It doesn't care what you put in it, doesn't care what piece of paper and what's written on it. It just stores stuff. Okay. Your mind is kind of the same way. Whatever you think over and over and over becomes a belief. Let me say that again. What you think about or you hear over and over and over becomes a belief. So then it goes, if it's a belief, it goes into the subconscious mind. You've just filed it. Again, doesn't care if it's good or bad. It just sees it as, okay, it must be true. It's all written on the piece of paper. It's in the filing cabinet. But from that state, you become that person. It's also known as your paradigm, if you've been studying this for a while. So let's say in my mind, I say to myself, every morning I wake up and I look at myself and I say, you look terrible. Look at you. You know, you've messed things up at work again. You're really stupid. There's something wrong with you. Can you not get this right? And if you have that and you tell yourself that over and over and over again, that will sit in your subconscious mind and you will ultimately start showing up as that person to the world, because that is your paradigm. That is kind of your autopilot. That is where everything is happening from. Now, if you don't, let's take money. If you don't, when you were younger and you kept hearing everybody say it's difficult to get money, it's hard to get money, money is hard to make, there's not enough money for everybody, money doesn't grow on trees, you've heard that one before, and all the things you've heard about money, and you grew up with this belief, it's difficult to get money, that again becomes that hearing over and over and thinking over and over goes and sits in the subconscious mind. And that in turn becomes your paradigm. You start functioning from that level. So you could win the lottery tomorrow and have a sudden windfall of money, and in a year's time, that money's gone. Why? Because you are living in that paradigm. Your navigation system is set to go to one point, and it will keep navigating on autopilot back to a certain point until we change it. Now, most of us think we must change it here. And yes, that's a brilliant start. Let's start there, because those are things that we can start consciously thinking about. But it takes time to reprogram, especially when you get to my age, or you get in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and you've got all those years worth of programmed subconscious files in there that we have to go and dig up and go and replace them with good files. Get rid of those and put new files in to start shifting our autopilot to a new destination. So it doesn't happen overnight. We think it does, and then we get so frustrated because this stuff doesn't work. Have you been working here, or have you been working in the subconscious mind? There's my first question. So I am all about this stuff. I love this stuff. This stuff excites me now that I've figured it out. Now that I know how to work with it, I know how it is so important to know what you're thinking and feeling and how to. I'm not saying every second of every day, but as soon as I got a feeling that's not in alignment of where I want to go, I immediately recognize it as this is not where I want my plane to be going. It's autopiloting back to another thing, and I start working on it. So yes, there's different ways on how to make that autopilot work for us. There's different ways. And the first way is to see how it is mirroring what's coming up in your life. So if somebody's coming to you and they're having a fat argument and they're shouting at you, it is literally showing you where your thoughts are. So where in your life are you showing up as angry, as shouting, as upset, as frustrated, as whatever? It doesn't have to be in that moment, but where in your life is that showing up? So I've started using the law of attraction as these things are showing up going, oh, okay, and start investigating. Where is that showing up? So that's a conscious part. Then I have a morning routine that I have set to prime my day, that I make sure I'm going in the direction that I want to go. Because often what happens is your autopilot just keeps taking you to the destination where you were going. But the idea is you want to shift it to where you do want to go. And then a lot of subconscious work on that. Now, there's lots of ways to work on the subconscious. And as you learn about these videos, you will still get to that. And we will discuss those things. And there's lots of good stuff that comes from it and fun stuff. This stuff is actually fun once you start working with it. Yes, it can be frustrating if you don't find the exact way how, and it takes years, as in my case, to figure it out. But once you have it, it's autopilot going in the direction you want, because it becomes easy. So I want to tell you something else about this. To work from your autopilot, you need to start, if you want to change things for the better, you need to start thinking about your day exactly the way you want it. You need to start feeling into your day exactly as you want it. And you need to visualize into your day exactly what you want. Now, it's much easier to do on a day-to-day basis because results are kind of shows up in the same day. So you can see where it is. But a lot of times what I see is people project 5 or 10 years up, but they're never working on the now too. So they are telling their brain, okay, well, I only want that in 5 years' time. And the brain goes, okay, we've got lots of time to carry on going in that direction. So what I do is I have a today plan and I have longer term plans. And if you're just starting out, start in a today plan so that you can start seeing results quickly and easily. That's why you see the videos to say, try this, this works in 15 minutes. Try this, it works in a day. Try this, works in 3 days. Because you can do that on the small things. But most of us are thinking, oh, cool, I've been wanting this red Ferrari for 10 years, so it must show up today. Okay, so if you know how to work with it and get through it. There are ways to do it, but we are not taking the action steps to get there. And that's another part of the program. So this is actually a big topic. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun stuff to play with. It is very exciting to see when things show up in your life. It's exciting to see, there's that inner feeling of, was that coincidence? Or did I actually just visualize this thing into life? Especially if you've been visualizing for a while. That's a lot of fun to play with that. So I would like for you all to think about what is being mirrored to you. Then become quiet. The thing is, in today's rushed life, we have got the internet, we got friends, we got work, we got this, we're fetching kids from school, we're making dinner. We never become quiet. So we never can receive inspiration of what we're wanting. There was one of my biggest blocks. I was always, my head was going and turning and overthinking all the time. And I couldn't understand why these great ideas they talk about is not coming to me. You know why? Because I actually didn't give my mind the opportunity. It was too busy. I was just putting too much stuff in it. So in the mornings and the evenings, I actually just spend a bit of time. Now, some days it's 10 minutes, some days half an hour, some days an hour, depending on how much time I have. But I make sure I do it every day, is to have quiet time. And quiet time means my head is not busy. I am not thinking a million things. I am sitting in the moment and savoring the moment. I am looking at the clouds and I'm trying to clear my head of whatever's going on in it. Because that's when inspiration comes. That's when the good stuff starts happening in your life. But we are too busy. First thing we wake up, we jump on the phone, see who sent us messages, what emails are waiting for me when I get to work. And we've done that all literally in the first 10 minutes of the day, and we wonder why our day just goes upside down. Because that is what you primed your day for. Whereas if you started in silence, you are starting it with a belief of, I need to go into my day, planning my day exactly the way I want it to go. And I need to be silent and I need to hear what is being said to me. And that is so important. That's where meditation comes from as well, that quietness. One of the coolest things I heard in a while is somebody said, praying is you asking something from God, and meditating is listening for the answer. I love that. It was so amazing to hear. And that's the way I see it. My quiet time is listening or not thinking. But have you noticed when you're not thinking or when you're quiet, you get some of your biggest ideas? You're in the shower, you haven't got the phone there, you don't have the kids shouting at you, and suddenly you come up with this great idea. Or you're on holiday and you're sitting somewhere and suddenly you come up with a great idea. Why? It's that quietness, the inspiration that you hear. Now, this channel is going to be a lot of this, a lot of all the tips and a lot of all the tricks to help you on your way to master this. Like anything in life, I tell my daughter this all the time. Nothing comes without practice. Practice, practice, practice until you have the formula done. She says to me this morning, oh, I've got a spelling test and I'm so worried. I'm like, well, practice, girl. There's nothing you can do about it, but at least you can still practice. So on the way to school, she was practicing her words. And there we go. We can't expect good results if we're not practicing. You've heard this, you know this. The same with the law of attraction. You have to apply it. You have to practice it. You must see what works for you. Not everything that works for me is going to work for you, and not everything working for you is going to work for me, because we are wired differently. So there we can talk about frequency. We can talk about shifting that paradigm, the way we're thinking. We can talking about sorting out that filing cabinet that we've been talking about. We can talk about the mirror that I use in my life to see where I am at, and getting back to that fish story. So when I eventually got that fish into the water after 6 or 7 tries, I sat and I was walking back on the beach and I thought to myself, what is this showing me? What is this showing me? What am I not seeing, or what should I be seeing from this? Or sometimes I go, what have I learned that is showing up that I've learned the lesson, right? So it could be a little bit of a double side of the coin. And I realized that life is like the little fish. Sometimes life gets hard and we battle to swim, we battle to get out, we all alone. And we have to face our biggest fear which in my case was he's human, like fish don't go to humans, right? And sit there and hope that I'm going to put him back in the water. And I did. And I put him back a few times, eventually, till he was strong enough to carry on. And we have to do that too. Take that helping hand. And sometimes I become like that too. I want to be there for everybody. And sometimes when I need the helping hand, then I just go, no, I don't want it. I don't want the helping hand. And that is reflecting to me. And then right at the end, knowing that I wasn't in control of the situation, that no matter what happened, I couldn't change the outcome. I could just be there in the moment and hope that it's going to work. So, did the fish die? Did he swim away? Wasn't up to me, but life is the same. And that is what's reflecting back to me. Not up to me. It's not up to what I am seeing, right? And where I'm at the end of the day, I can still manifest and do stuff. But the bigger picture is not up to me, but it's how I'm dealing with it, how I'm handling it, and how I want to be positive into this, how I want to make my life work for the better of it. And if you start looking at moments like that, like what is the situation telling me? Where in my life am I not showing up? Where am I not taking a hand from somebody? When am I not realizing that it's not always up to me? That's where you see massive results, where you all of a sudden things just change overnight like this, quickly. And that is so much fun. So I hope this very tiny introduction helped you a little bit with what the law of attraction is. There's so much about it that we can start a channel and talk for years and years and years and years. And so if this topic interests you, and even if you don't believe it works, at like one stage, I didn't believe it works. And looking back, I see actually it did. And you start integrating that into your life and start living the best life that you were, and that you actually know, well, I do have a say in my life. I don't just wake up and see what happens with me in my life. I actually have a say of where it's going to go and what I'm going to do with it. That's when you start living the best life. So last thing, you must probably get a look at me and go, so what has a coach got to do with this? So you know what I realized in my big journey and my helping hand, like the fish? If it weren't for my coaches, I wouldn't have seen my paradigm. I wouldn't have seen where I was going. It's kind of difficult to see when you're in the air, which direction you're going, if you didn't have the instruments. My coaches were my instruments, showing me which direction I was going, showing me red flags. So you can't see down there, but here's the red flags. These are the things that's happening in your life. So if you want to accelerate this process, get yourself a coach, because a coach can read your label on the outside. It's sometimes difficult for us to see our own labels. So that's why coaches have coaches, because we love learning. We love accelerating this path. We love moving fast. We love to get into it. We love enjoying the moment of massive expansion. It makes us incredibly happy. Even the difficult stuff makes you feel like a mountain being moved off your shoulders. So if this sounds interesting and you want to accelerate things a little bit, click in the links below and see how to work with me. Go to my website or find a coach closer to you, wherever is good for you. But make sure that if you're going to get a coach, that you're ready to put in this work, that you're ready to accelerate, that you're ready to take your foot and put it on that gas pedal and go, because that's how fast it happens. When did I see results? When I got a coach. So now I'm a coach and you could be too soon. So I'm really looking forward to spending time with you. And if you're not ready for the coach yet, you know what? Just keep watching, just keep learning, just keep stepping forward one step at a day, and just put lots of information in your mind, read a lot, hear about a lot, learn a lot, and just keep growing and see the massive expansion in your life. So with that, have a beautiful weekend and we shall chat next week. Bye.